Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are pleased to welcome Xander Schauffele, to the interview room. Xander, welcome to the 89th Masters. Last year, you're coming off two major wins, the PGA Championship and the Open. What can you tell us that you're bringing to Augusta this time for your game?
Yeah, sort of different, I think different sort of excitement for myself and my team, knowing that, we've gotten over that finish line. But, in all honesty, so after a slow start to the year, I'm very fortunate and sort of feel happy to be here. So not that anything terrible happened, but, you sort of take it for granted when you're playing healthy golf, and it's nice to be back playing and feeling healthy and strong. So I am very happy to be here.
With that, we'll open it up to questions. Doug?
Xander, what's your confidence level like? Do you think you can win this week, and if you do, why?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I know what I'm capable of when I'm feeling good, when I'm not thinking of anything but getting the ball in the hole. So it's been a process to get back to that. I don't have, a ton of reps doing it, but there's a lot for me to draw back on, previous accomplishments to sort of let that confidence grow.
You feel like you turned a corner in the last month or so?
I think so. I mean, it just mentally more so. I think I've never really dealt with injury before, so I've never really been sidelined, and I'm trying to find all the positives to attach to the situation, and me not being hurt before and sitting at home thinking all these thoughts, watching everyone else play golf and sort of fly by me. It's been very motivating. So just trying to use that to perform at a higher level.
Ann?
Hi, Xander. Can you expand a little bit on perhaps what you can draw from your very solid performances here through the years during this season of injury for yourself?
When I say draw from, I mean just, last year I was firing on close to all cylinders at some points, and I sort of saw what that got me and how far that got me. So if I'm healthy, I'm moving well, I'm swinging well, I'm doing sort of the things that I did to prepare correctly in the past. Like I said, I don't have a ton of reps under my belt this year, but I sort of know where that can get me. And so there needs to be a lot of self-belief that I can get back to that spot, and that's where where I'm laying my head to rest.
Brentley?
Xander, what do you attribute the strong approach play at Valspar to? Was there something that you unlocked going into that week that led to that career best performance with the irons?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I kind of picked up the pace in terms of hitting a lot of golf balls. I'm not going to sit here and say that I felt amazing all week. The Valspar, that course is with the wind kind of swirling and your approach being very important. You can get a little tight out there, and so I sort of just knowing that I want to get to a good place. Maybe I freed myself up that week of sort of just let the ball go wherever it's going to go. Stop trying to kind of two hands on the steering wheel, gripping tight, just kind of let it be, and it kind of turned into a really really good week in terms of approach.
Thomas?
Xander, you talked about being sidelined and watching from the outside. Has it been motivating or intimidating to see the level that Rory and Schauffele have performed at?
Just motivating. Yeah, like I said, I mean, there's so many guys that have played at a really high level, and luckily I've learned that I can play at that level. So more motivating than anything else. They've been playing incredible golf. Rory's been playing unbelievably well this year with a couple wins already, and kind of breezing through what looks like hard golf courses, and it's just what happens. When you're a really good player and you put things together, that's sort of what happens. So, like I said, luckily I was able to do that last year, and there's no reason I can do it again.
Jimmy?
Xander, first major you're playing since you've won a major. I'm just wondering, do you feel any different?
Not really. I'd like to think I feel similar. Sitting here bummed out along with the rest of the field that we can't practice today. I don't really wake up and feel more accomplished, feel like the same guy. I think the big difference will be when I get in those spots. My dream is just to give myself another chance coming down the stretch. I think I said that after the PGA, at the Open, if I can get myself in a spot to win this thing, I feel pretty good about doing it, and I did it. So I think that kind of goes for every major I play in now. If I can get myself in a good spot, I'm going to fail at times, but man, I think I can deal with it a lot better than I used to be able to before winning.
Just as a quick follow-up, how much pressure before you were able to win a major did you put on yourself when you went to the majors? Was it something that you were aware of?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's just from personal experiences. It always felt you try to really. It's hard to explain. It's the most fun you'll ever. I mean, for me at least, or most of the guys I talk to, it's the most fun you'll ever have on a golf course is being in the hunt, coming down the stretch, and everyone kind of going at it. And if you can crown yourself the champ at the end, it is so cool. Even when I've lost, it's the most fun I've ever had. But something about dealing with the situation, looking too far ahead, trying to slow yourself down, trying to stay, stick to your process, trying to look at what other people are doing. There's so much going on, and I think until you've actually done it and sort of make sense of it in your own head, then you learn sort of how you can win.
Paul?
As well as you hit the irons at Valspar, driver was a little wayward. Anything you've identified, particularly with that club, feel better about it heading into this week? Yeah,
a lot better. I just haven't had a lot of reps with a new driver, so I kind of crawled back to my old one, knowing what it's done, just for the time being. I just needed to, after coming off of injury, it's hard to sit and do driver testing and sort of find the right head. So I kind of quickly went back to that old one, knowing how much success I had with it.
Robert?
Xander, do you know much about Justin Hastings, who's in the tournament, having won the Latin America Amateur? He plays at San Diego State. I'm wondering, did he ever reach out to you, or did you ever meet him at anything like that?
Yeah, I was able to go to. I had a thing on campus at SDSU and was able to sort of crash SDSU's wedge practice, and so was able to kind of feel young again, being on college campus, and was able to congratulate him and everything he's accomplished. And I think my coach here, Donovan's out here with him. Unfortunately today, no one's golfing, but was able to sort of. I saw him yesterday practicing, so it's a great feat for sure.
Are you aware that I believe he broke your school scoring record, perhaps?
Thank you. I was not aware of that. I mean, I would never. That's not surprising. I would have never called myself some all-star when I was in college, but that's good for him, and thank you for that. That's helping my confidence, my growth process.
Scott?
Xander, after such great performances and so many highs last year, to get injured, did you find yourself ever feeling like unlucky, or why did this have to happen, or if so, how did you get past it?
Definitely didn't feel unlucky. I felt dumb at one point, sort of being at the brunt of it's my fault. So felt a little unprofessional, felt irresponsible. Then I felt sad. Then I was motivated, and then I felt sad again, and then motivated finally. So I don't know if there was like a grieving process, but I kind of dealt with it on my own. I mean, like I said, I knew I was going to come back and play. I just didn't know when. And when it comes to golf, I feel like I'm a kid. I just want to go out and play golf and compete at a high level, and that was stripped away from me. So luckily, I have a very supportive wife and family to sort of keep me entertained during the downtime.
Xander, did you learn anything about yourself in that period of time where you were sitting at home? You mentioned it was the first time you've really been seriously injured. Yeah,
I mean, maybe I was more emotionally unstable than I thought I was through certain weeks. Everything's gravy when it's gravy, So it was a nice wake-up call to maybe be a little more responsible when need be. And no, it was a reminder of how much I love to play and compete. I think that was I think guys talk about, I've been on tour for 20 years. Things go by so fast. For me, it's been 8 or 9 years, I think. I could be wrong, but it's gone by very fast. And so to be able to take a step back and, after winning 2 majors and sort of accomplishing a lot, to still feel some fire burning, watching other guys sort of play really well is a nice thing, because at some point in my life, that's not going to happen. So I'm lucky that it's still burning.
When you were watching golf, I know you mentioned you watched a lot more golf on TV in that time than you ever have. What did you learn from just viewing, the PGA Tour, and what were you taking in during those times?
It's funny when you're in the mix. It's hard to see certain things. I'm peanut gallery too. Why do you hit it? Everyone knows you can't short side yourself there. Stupid stuff like that. So it was good. It was good to sort of let myself watch a little bit of golf and then turn it off completely and kind of work on me again.
Xander, with a day like today where you don't get out on the course, do a lot, how does that impact your preparation for the tournament, especially when there's another day later in the tournament that we might be looking at similar conditions?
It's just part of, to me, whenever things get weird or difficult, I just remind myself that if you want to win, one of the biggest events that we play in, you got to deal with these things, and whoever deals with these things the best will win. So, like I said, I'm lucky to have a good team and have already saw sort of half my team, just whether it's physio or a gym or something of that nature to keep myself occupied. It's not always about hitting the golf ball. So, just it's just part of it. Doug.
Xander, for you or really anyone else who hasn't won this yet, when you get here, do you have any good or happy memories, or do you think about more the close call you had in 19 or the tee shot on 16 and in 21?
Well, Doug, now that you keep mentioning this stuff, you and Robert have a little get together before this media session.
It's getting warmed up.
No, it's all to me. It's all good feels. Even when I went to 16, I played the back 9 yesterday. Now I'm thinking about how I rinsed that shot. Thank you. It's at the front of mind. But when I went there, I was more of like, how is this whole different? Once the storm came through, I was looking at trees. The whole day, it almost felt like I was playing the back 9 for the first time. Just there's trees you aim at off the tee, and there's over the 11th green. You can see, when you're walking down 10, you can see half the course. So it's pretty crazy to sort of see how many. It's sad too to see how many trees have fallen. But it's all good feels. There's nothing, I don't ever walk on property saying like, I wish I could have done this better. It's sort of like, how can I prepare the best this year?
It gives you good vibes driving into the club.
Being able to walk into this media room to talk to you is sort of what got me out of bed this morning, Doug.
Let's move on, Mark.
Alex.
Xander, is there some kind of, you were talking about when you're in the hunt, what would you describe it as? Is it some kind of serenity, some kind of, what exactly is it to you?
That's a good question. Doug, take notes.
You're on fire.
It depends. It depends on how you deal with it. I've had different forms of it. I remember going down, or starting with Jordan at Carnoustie, and it feeling like I was, I had the rope in my hands and it was just slipping and I couldn't get a hold of it. And, before I knew it, the front 9 was done and I shot like 44 and it was like holy smokes, you know what I mean? And then there's been other times where I've been in there and was aware of that one moment and I completely lost the grip and I tried to slow things down and I was almost playing so slow that I was throwing myself off. So there's a peaceful, if you can find it, there is a serene part of it if you allow yourself to enjoy it almost. But I think it's so high stress that you sort of, the hardest thing to do in those spots is to stick to your process, is to have the correct conversation with your caddy before you hit the shot as if you're teeing off on Thursday. That's the hardest place to get to. And the better you can get at that when you're under the gun, I think you will be more successful.
Okay, and then one other thing. The situation where you came in here last year and you hadn't won a major, and kind of Jimmy talked about, now you've won 2. And we've been kind of talking amongst ourselves about, believe it or not, career Grand Slam versus trying to win a major. Is that a thought that you have had?
Believe it or not, it was always a thought before I won any of them. So it's a lot cooler to be a lot closer to that dream of mine at 31 versus, 35 or 6, not having won one.
Soren.
Andrew, I'm from Denmark, and I want to clarify one thing. We're close to Germany. Is it Schauffele or is it Schauffele?
You know, it's if you ask my dad, he'd probably say Schauffele, but I am, you know, I'm the only natural-born citizen in my family, so I'm the only one waving that flag in my household. So I give Schauffele as an easy go, but yeah, I'd say that the correct pronunciation would probably be the first one.
Xander, I'm curious as well. I know a lot of these golfers have some superstitions, different things. Do you have any routine superstitions, specifically when you come to Augusta, that you make sure you want to do every year?
Not really. My big goal when I come here is to feel prepared enough to not want to sit on property and practice all day, because like a kid in a candy store, it doesn't get a whole lot better than this when you're trying to prepare. You feel like you lose yourself. You can sit on the range for 6 hours hitting at different targets, go chip, go putt. Before you know it, you're absolutely exhausted. I did that my first couple of years without even realizing it. So that's more of my goal when I come here.
Adam.
Xander, you've talked about how people have underestimated you really your whole career. Having won 2 of the last 3 majors, do you feel like you're coming into this week floating a little under the radar after the injury? And do you like that?
I don't know if I've ever sat and talked about how I felt underestimated. I'm not really, you know, it's sort of how people would talk about me when I was playing well. But yeah, it's kind of nice, you know. Like I said, I haven't been in great form, but the only thing that really matters is that I think I can win, and my team thinks I can win, and everyone else can just talk about, you know, whatever they talk about.
Did you find the course to be different when you played it yesterday?
Just some trees, like, you know, behind some greens and you know, off 10, for example, if you are feeling extremely dangerous, there's a little gap on the left side of the trees where you can kind of hit it through. I think it's a little risky, but in the past, you know, your ball would hit a tree there and fall, you know, like 90 feet from the tee box. So there's just a few spots where you can kind of get a little risky if you're feeling dangerous. But for the most part, I think the course is going to play the exact same as before. You may have a target you can't aim at, you know, like over the 11th green, there was those 3 trees, but you can just use the bridge as a reference now if you'd like.
Brian.
Yeah, with the injury holding you, you know, giving you a little bit of a late start, how much of a distraction is that? How hard is it to ramp back up and kind of get into your normal routine in preparation for these majors?
Been pretty easy, actually. Just as soon as I got the green light, all the scans came back clean. Everyone's telling me I'm good. I mean, I was out the door running. You know, people were trying to holster me a little bit longer, knowing that I'm just going to go berserk and try and hit too many balls. But you know, like I said, as soon as I got that green light, I was very excited to do everything I can to get back in a good position. So there hasn't been any sort of setbacks since starting. So it's like I haven't thought about my rib or anything of that nature. So which is you know, that's the nicest thing about it.
Luis?
Xander, we talked with Joaquin Niemann last week, and he said that he looked up to you when thinking about a talented player that took some time to win his first major. He's obviously feeling well for this week, but what would you tell him and all of the players seeking for their first major after the process that you lived?
Yeah, Joaquin is unbelievable. You know, he's been winning at a pretty decent clip on the LIV Tour, so I mean, I would tell Joaquin, I mean, he knows he's been winning a lot more events than I have, but, you know, you're always a lot closer than you think. It's sort of what I tell anyone that's been close. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around, but it's never anything that's that fancy, and you're always a lot closer than you think you are.
Dan?
Xander, during your downtime, you mentioned you spent some time watching golf. What else filled your time? Was it video games, knitting? Like, you know, what are you doing during that downtime yourself?
Yeah, knitting for sure. Yeah, I mean, I was able to see some friends. I have to catch up on some dinners with some friends that, you know, I was in San Diego for a majority of it, and then in Florida. So, but between trying to get treatment, you know, actually spending time with my wife when I'm supposed to be at a tournament, and my dogs, seeing friends, it was, you know, during the day, I mean, I watched a lot of shows, a lot more shows, and it wasn't that hard to sit on the couch for 5 hours and like, dang, I can kind of see how people get behind binging 5 hours of shows. It's not that hard, but it was a while since I was able to do that. So I literally was just stalling for 6 weeks.
Doug?
I felt that reluctancy there.
He's got a knitting question.
Where does your self-belief come from, do you think?
Self-belief, it's sort of been hammered into my brain by my dad. Just always, he was always hard on me, but always wanted me to believe, and all the corny sort of positive self-talk, all that stuff is from my dad. And I'd like to think it's something I'm decent at now. Like I said, I was tested when I was at home to stay positive and no, all that good stuff. But I say a lot of it's from my dad. I mean, at some point, it would help. I think they turned your mic off because they're sick of you, but yeah, you definitely, some validation helps along the way. You can't come in last place every week and tell yourself that you're really good. So there's definitely, a tie there.
Thomas.
And just throwing it forward to later in the year, I'm interested to know about the household dynamic with the Ryder Cup and your dad. Is he fully rooting for you, or is he waving his hat with the rest of the Europeans?
The hat gate. No, I'd be shocked. My he's here this week, but I'd be shocked if he even makes an appearance out there. He'll be in Hawaii, all canoodled up out there doing his thing. We'll see if he turns on the Ryder Cup, but yeah, he wears a lot of hats and a lot of flags. Whatever suits him best, is the flag he'll rock at that time.
Are you out for vengeance this year?
I mean, nothing feels extremely personal right now as I'm sitting here at the first major, but when the competition and the juices get flowing, some feelings creep in there that you want to take over or that you want to control. But yeah, those events are a lot of fun. I think everyone smiles, and when they think about a Ryder Cup, they remember all the fun times they have with their team, and I'm no different. That's how I feel when I think of those events.
William? No? Right here, Pael.
Xander, you mentioned earlier, you kind of described playing in these events and competing in these events as high stress. I'm just curious, over the course of your career, what have you found works for you when dealing with the stress of playing in these tournaments?
Being level-headed helps. Whenever you're in a tough spot, that's just me personally. There's some guys that ride the highs and lows. I mean, look at Tiger. He was someone that wore his heart on his sleeve, and he did just fine. So it's more of a me thing. Staying level-headed helps me deal with stress versus sort of losing my cool.
Done.
Xander, when you were binge watching all those shows, did you identify with any of the characters or any narrative arcs that seem similar to your own?
No, not really. Not really. Some world-ending shows where people are living underground, you know what I mean? I didn't really feel attached to any of that. It was more of an entertainment thing.
Right here.
Xander, was it a concentrated effort with Chris Como to switch from being laid off to more having the club going down the target at the top?
Yeah.
And why?
I just think he thinks the matchup for how I release the club into the ball, or how I like to basically put the club on the ball through impact. It's not safer, but maybe a better place to repeat a swing from when the club's a little bit more on plane, or even a little across. Just the way the club peels down when I do it correctly, peels back down onto the golf ball is a nicer thing versus when the weight's behind you. I have a lot of side bend, and I shift laterally a lot. So, when the weight's laid off and the way the club's kind of pulling you back down and around, you sort of get this slingshot effect that can't be, that's not great at all times. So he saw it as a good way to sort of get the matchups correct, and it's proven to be pretty effective.
How long did it take you to get comfortable with that? And when did you feel that, like
Still working on it now, to be honest. Yeah, I'd say home is sort of laid off, for me, where it wasn't always, if I look back at swings in like 17, 18, my club was a lot more on plane. And then through COVID and me playing like a certain style of golf and golf course, I think I got a little bit flatter shoulders, a little bit more laid off, and the club started moving in a weird way. So I definitely still work on getting the club in a better position up top, even today.
2 more questions. Howard?
Xander, you mentioned how you're always closer than you think you are in terms of winning a major. Was that a mantra that you were telling yourself beforehand, or is that something you've realized now after you've actually won them?
Man, I was telling myself all kinds of things. Probably after winning one, I don't think I told myself in your head, however you dream it up as a kid, I pretty much had my sort of hero moment, where you're the kid at night putting on the green saying like, oh, this putt to win a major, I had that. So I'm lucky in that sense to be able to say it. But when I wasn't winning tournaments or majors, I didn't tell myself I was close. I kept telling myself that I'm far away and that I need to get way better and all those things. And, and in fact, I was a lot closer than I thought. So more of an after the fact thought process, unfortunately for me.
Were you envisioning yourself anywhere specific when you were making those putts as a kid?
Just any putting green you're on with your friends, just the random call out, I guess.
Last question. Ann?
Xander, do you believe you can win this week, given your comeback?
I don't think I'd be here if I didn't.
Thank you very much, and good luck this week.
Thank you.